That's Juno in fire. When Juno is in water, right? Water, as I stated, Juno is about longevity. Juno is about long term. Juno is about that connectiveness. Juno is about that marriage. It's, Juno is like what you feel married to. It doesn't have to be a specific person or human being. Juno is about what you feel married to. You could be married to the streets. You could be married to the hustle. You could be married to money. You could be married to your art. You could be married to food. Whatever the case may be, this is what you feel married to, what you feel connected to, and what you see long-term longevity. Can't nobody, change that long-term thing because it's you, right? So when you have Juno in water, right, that's like you having a state of being, you having one state of being, whether good or bad, and you being in that state of being for long term, for longevity. It's just that one state of being, right? State of being, right? So it can be good or it can be bad, but either way, it can play out stagnant, mundane type of energy. When you are just in that one state of being, you can manifest the same kind of similar experiences and scenarios, people, places, and things. So it's kind of mundane, and we know that life is about developing new experiences, living new experiences. It's not just about what we feel comfortable with and what we feel familiar with. So it's important wherever you have Juno at, it's important that, this is your longevity, this is where you see things long term, but having a better understanding of how you can balance that out with whatever aspect you see as short term things in your life, or whatever the case may be, or whatever planet or element or aspect or whatever you have it in, the opposite of that element in any area, in any place in your natal chart, in any area of your life. Even if we wasn't talking about Juno, those opposites, those squares, are things that can help you balance whatever that fixated, that you feel comfortable and familiar in area of life, aspect, or whatever the case may be. So okay, so for Juno, right, in water, right, as I stated, it's like being in one state of being for longevity, for long term, right? So an example of this can be like a person who is like a one-hit wonder, right? So if you're a one-hit wonder, that's like, being a musician or being an artist, and it was one time where you hit this la la land type of place, right, where it's like you got recognition, people know who you are, people know that you did this song, or this great event, this thing that happened that you feel really, really good about, right? And you kind of carrying that on, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's something that happened in 2007 where the best feeling you felt ever in your life happened in 2007. It's now 2023, and you acting like 2007 is still something that's happening right now. That could even be like you created a rap or something and it was like the best rap and it went viral or something like that. Like I stated, it's like a one-hit wonder, but it can even just be making a video that got a lot of views, or you felt good about it or something like that, right? And it's like you just thinking about that and you just saying like, oh yeah, that was a good time, or it's just like kind of being in the past type of energy, right? It can also be like if you an individual that you got out of jail and it's just you talking about all the stuff that was going on before you got in jail, or you just talking about this past type energy or whatever, and it's just like whether good or bad, that's the thing. It don't matter if it's good, it don't matter if it's bad. It's one state of being, you know what I'm saying? It's one state of being that you're fixated in and you see long term, you know what I'm saying? So when you understand that when you're in a certain state of being, these are the type of scenarios and the experiences that you develop, right? When you see this state of being, like, okay, so your temperament creates your results. Your state of being creates your results. So when you get a certain result, you can see that before it became that result, it traveled to get to that result. A state of being, things were going on before it got to that particular result, right? So it's important that you understand how you manifested these experiences based off of that state of being that you're in. So you see this state of being creates this result. Now let's get into another state of being to create another result, a different result, a different way, a different or whatever. So you see this state of being creates this state of being creates that, and these states of beings is what creates these type of results, right? So that's when it starts to become more powerful. That's when you start to have a better understanding of your energies and what you manifested and stuff like that. So you're able to utilize it like magic and jump into certain state of beings to create this world, to create certain things, so you're not just fixated and stuck in one place, right? So the importance of knowing where Juno is at, it helps you have a better understanding of what you are seeing and what you are feeling, or when it comes to fire and water, right? Because it can be in other elements as well, but we're talking about fire and water. So whatever you see yourself doing for the rest of your life is something that you see for the rest of your life. It's something that you feel for the rest of your life, or whatever. So when water and fire comes together, as I said, right? So we know Juno and fire, that's Juno and fire by itself, that's longevity, long term, with your individuality, with your creativity, with your fire, with the way that you see the world. That's long term, right? It's long term. Can't nobody change the way that you see. That's fire. Fire is seeing. Juno in water is one emotional state of being, and you seeing that long term longevity of that one state of being. Balance is important for both areas, because if not, it can just create a flunked out experience where you're not able to expand, because you are manifesting certain mundane, similar scenarios, situations, people, places, and things, because you only feel that one long-term way of doing things, or whatever the case may be. So this is another representation of everything I said. This is just Juno. This is me drawing out Juno, right? I used Sharpies and crayons to create this image, right? So J is like a hook, whatever. Like when the shadow government, Jewish mysticism and stuff like that, when they put these letters together, when they created these letters that we all feel so comfortable using, it had to come from a certain space first. So when you understand where these letters and where these words are coming from, you're able to utilize it yourself, create your own meaning and reasoning behind that yourself, and you can transmute and utilize your magic in a sufficient way, because you know what you're doing. And when you know what you're doing, you a bad motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? So okay, J is like that hook or whatever, you know. U is masculine and feminine being brought down, like animalistic, like the animalistic nature. So the masculine and the feminine aspect being brought down in animalistic nature, and that's like you, how you see yourself, how you're seen, the things that you have in your mind, the way that you're receiving, and the things that you're pushing out. That's you as a totality, right? And then N is inside, right? N is inside, right? O is your womb, your 360, your circumference, or whatever. So when these letters come together, is Juno, right? Juno. So that's you being able to create your own way of seeing, your own way of getting your own sense of attention, your own way of how you see the world, what you're focused and fixated on, how you attract the way that you do things. You creating your own meaning and reasoning behind whatever it is that you're doing, and not being too lost in how someone else expects for you to be seen or expects for you to do certain things, right? It's important that you utilize whatever it is that you see around you. You create your own meaning and reasoning behind it. This is the image that I created. This is art that I drew and that art that I put together. But I also know that these individual letters were used a million times before, and people wrote Jewish, mysticism and all this stuff. These are things that were written and shaped out and drawn or whatever. Okay, so it's like, I see this as knowing yourself. Like N and O, that's like, inside of your womb, inside of your 360, inside of your circumference, you know yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so, although I explained what Juno is and how it represents longevity, you can see the correlations between, because we know that Juno is like the sound Juno, like it sounds like it has to do with knowing yourself, or saying no to certain animalistic emotional desires or something like that, and knowing when to place and receive boundaries, restrictions, and limits, or knowing when to indulge, or knowing what's going on, what day of the week that you should play certain things out. You create in your own week, you create in your own sense of how you're doing things, right? So this is basically an example, me drawing this and coloring this out and me creating this image. This is an example of how you can create your own world, how you can create your own time zone, how you can create your own way of seeing and doing things, and how you can create your own way of putting together colors and all of that, right? So we know that blue deals with connectiveness, communication, thinking, right? So Juno is about communicating, connecting, right? So we know that that is what's going on, and that's what happens in a marriage, right? In a marriage, you have to communicate, you have to connect, you have to think sufficiently, you have to, have this sense of communication and this sense of flow and this sense of balance, right? Blue is also like represented by like Libra, right? So Libras are, like gemstone, whatever, it's like blue or whatever, but also like the energy of blue is also the energy of Libra, which is also the energy of what the 7th house birth, Libra, right? So it's all dealing with communication, harmony, right? Balance and stuff like that. So yellow is dealing with happiness, enlightenment, happiness, enlightenment. Yellow can also enlightenment, so it can deal with seeing, and it can also represent fire, right? So I explained Juno being in fire and water, so of course there's going to be blue, of course there's going to be yellow. There's also red as well, and red deals with aggression, red deals with passion, red deals with aggression, passion, transformation, right? And separation, right? So when you see a door like at a restaurant or something like that, right? You see the exit signs, usually red, right? And red, as I said, deals with transformation. It deals with separation. When you hit a red button to stop something, like if you work at a warehouse, right, and they have the conveyor belts and shit, if you need to make an emergency stop or stop something real fast, that button is usually red, right? Even the red button that's on your phone, if